Need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you.
Read a copy of my Boots formula in the new book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action. Bootstraps and Bra Straps book is on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest Karma Essence, and she is Spence, sorry. She helps entrepreneurs and small business owners, sorry about that, business owners write, publish, and market their books based on the knowledge between their ears, even if they've never written before and are crazy busy. Well, it looks like I should have found you a long time ago. Welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, and I'd like to start off each show. This show is about based on my latest best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And this year we've had every situation show up globally for us. So I'd like start out with maybe a story you have about a time in your business or personal life where you hit a tough spot and how you got back on track.
Well, it's could be a long story, but I'll try to be succinct. In 1997, I got pregnant, got married, and to the wrong man. And after about 3 years of marriage, I was thinking, maybe I should get a divorce. But I gave it another 10 years, just in case. You don't want to rush into things. And it was hell. It really was. He was emotionally abusive. He told me all my templates were wrong. And I have ADD, so I can be impulsive. And when he was talking, I had to stay very still and not say a word. I couldn't even do, those listening things they tell us where you go, I couldn't do that. It would throw him off. So the problem with the way I am is that I need to be moving if I'm paying attention. So I need to tap my feet or move my hands or something like that. And he'd make me move. So I had to concentrate on holding still, which meant I wasn't listening to him. So it was a constant struggle. And there were other things. So finally, in 2010, I asked him for a divorce. And I got a divorce. And I moved. We were living in Arizona at the time, and I moved to LA. And you had to stay 6 months and then you file for divorce. And so blah, blah. A year later, I'm dating again. And after a few months, I met this very charismatic fellow. He did spear fishing and the diving where you don't need the tanks. You just breathe, you hold your breath. And he sort of just moved into my apartment, which was barely enough room for one person. And one night, he turned out he was alcoholic. And one night, he completely flipped out because Obama was the president at the time. And I said, well, I like Obama. And he flipped out, told me I was a traitor to the country, and just a spew of things. He went out, left. I'm like, okay, that was weird. And then I went to bed. He came home and took a bottle of water and doused it over me while I was in the bed. He shook me. He pushed me up against a wall. He again threatened my life, said I should be lined up against a wall and shot because I liked Obama. I find that very odd to, you support the current president and that's a bad thing. And by the end of the night, he took my phone away. I couldn't even get my phone. So I waited until he passed out. And while I was waiting, he called his brother in Alabama and was laughing at how he had waterboarded his girlfriend.
Wow.
So that morning, I got dressed very quickly. I grabbed my computer and I fled. And it was my apartment. I was paying the rent. And I went to a friend's house. She had to go to work, so she let me stay at her house for a while. But after a while, I realized I was hungry, so I went to McDonald's and I ended up talking to another friend on my computer. And they said, you should call the police. And I'm like, well, I don't know. But they convinced me. So I borrowed a phone because, of course, I never did find my phone. I borrowed a phone from one of the people who worked at McDonald's and called the police. And the short story of that is he ended up going to prison. And it turned out that he had fractured my orbital while doing all the crazy things because, like, the bone underneath the eye that holds it up, he fractured it. So I had to go through a bit of health care to get that normal. But after that experience, I realized there's a pattern here.
Yeah.
I'm going out with increasingly abusive men. And if I don't get my act together, the next one will kill me. So I took a year off men. I went on a man diet. And I dove into learning about universal laws, mindset, and the rules of dating, how to find a man who isn't crazy pants. And what I learned from that is obviously what you think about expands. So as I learned that I had been thinking that I wasn't worthy of a man who could treat me well. I also learned that I need to be myself and that would attract the right man. So in walks my current husband a year later. And on our first date, I was full on karma. I threw at him every idiosyncrasy and quirkiness about him. On a normal date, the man would have run screaming, but he didn't. In fact, he thought it was exciting. And fast forward, we're married and he is amazing. And it was all because I was myself.
Yes.
And I can't imagine someone more well-matched than he is. We are peas in a pod.
Oh, I love that. That's great. How beautiful. And, that journey is something that a lot of people have been on, and myself included. And
yay.
It's one of those learning experiences. One of the things that I got out of my journey was that you're attracted to and attract what you know as love. And I came from a very abusive childhood. And so I brought that and was attracted to somebody that at first seemed very nice, reading poetry.
They always do.
Yeah, and all that. And then all of a sudden, abusive and over controlling and just ridiculous, stealing, just crazy stuff. And I was actually forced into a marriage with my parents and grandparents because I got pregnant, and it was back in the old school mindset. And if you don't, you're in trouble. And I got sick, so I had no choice because I lost my income. And so it was one of those situations. And maybe it was my karma. Your name is karma.
Yeah.
But it was a life lesson. And the thing that happens is, as you learn that, you took that year of self-love where you're like, you know what, I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to self-love. I'm going to take care of myself and be who I am. And then you attract and are attracted to healthy love and what's to who you really are. And that makes all the difference. And it definitely has made a difference in my life. And I'm so for that. I don't even have those type of friends that are unhealthy or any, it's changed everything that I do. And my peer group is incredible. And it's because of that time of self-love. And in that time, there's that lonely space. And that's the space that's kind of scary. That's the time where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm all alone. Should I be all alone? Am I always going to be all alone? Maybe I go back to these terrible people, but it's like, no, because you're being yourself and you're healing. And then you start to attract the right people. So what a beautiful story.
Well, that's how I got in trouble in the first place. Because I was like 31 and I'm like, I'm never going to find a man. So I find this man and I marry him. And it was the wrong man. It wasn't until I got to the point where I believed I don't need a man. I want one. I just don't need one, that I finally found the right man.
Yes. And I think that's another thing. I know a lot of people that maybe they've just left a relationship and they want to go find somebody because they need either a man or a woman, whoever they're looking for in their life. And so they're looking for this other person to complete them, to make them whole. And it's that time you need to make yourself whole and know that when you're going into a relationship, you're going to give and receive, not just to receive. And that's a big difference. And it's something where you complement each other, you have fun, and it's something that, of course, there's give and take in every relationship. There's that, but it's because you want to be there. It's not because you need that other person to make you happy. Imagine who's going to be attracted to somebody that needs to make the other person happy all the time? That is just not going to work out. and a lot of times
there are people like that, but they're not good people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that thing about you won't be. I've had friends that say, "Oh, honey, you won't be happy unless you're in a relationship." And I thought, well, wait a minute. When I first got divorced and all that, I was like, wait a minute. I'm happy right now, and I'm not going to depend on that other person, place or thing to make me happy. I'm going to be happy. That attracted so many people because I'm happy in who I am and what I'm doing and who I'm being. And of course, we're always improving, but it's that choice, and that's attractive. Yes, versus a needy person that needs you to give them happiness every second. So,
and no one can make you happy. Happy comes from inside.
Yes.
It's a choice.
It is. And that doesn't mean you're always happy. It means that even in time you get to choose. There are sad situations this year, like we discussed. There's so many tough situations that we've all had to face. And then it's a choice of how we're going to get through them. And that means you're going to embrace all your emotions. You're going to get through all those pieces, but you're going to choose to get to the other side and choose happiness in the little things and find the good in what we're dealing with. For my family and myself, we lost my youngest son in December last year. He was 22 and he had Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, which is a heart condition since 5th grade. We found it. They did ablation. They did everything. He went to sleep at grandma's house for holidays and didn't wake up. And so and that was, wow. We thought, oh my gosh. And then by the time we had the funeral, it was January, and because it was so close to Christmas. And by the time we were getting back to our kind of semi-normal sort of waking up, the pandemic hit.
Lockdown hit. Yeah.
And my daughter said, "Oh, Mom, this is exactly, this universal pause is exactly what our family needed. We needed this more than ever. If ever there was a year we needed this time, it was this year." And so it was like we learned to honor this year and respect it and be thankful for that time. So it made a big difference for us.
Yeah. The pandemic's been interesting. I moved across country in the middle of it.
That's incredible. Yes. And so you two lovebirds got to move. How beautiful. I love your love story. That's incredible. I think
Oh,
that's
yeah, you should hear how he proposed. That's a real love story.
I love that. That's so great. So that's something that I learned. You know, you see when you've experienced an abusive situation, you think, oh gosh, all guys or all women or all people are abusive, whatever. And that's not the truth. That's
Yeah.
all the people you might be surrounding yourself with. That's
I
all.
absolutely refused to believe that. I was
Yes,
not going to believe that. I mean,
exactly.
that may have been my experience, but I knew there were good people out there.
And then if you're listening and you're a guy and you're listening in, oh, wow, listen to that one part of your story where you were testing your new guy and you had
Yeah,
a test. Now think about that. A lot of times that will show up, especially getting closer to a commitment when somebody's had a tough situation and been through something where they're going to give you some tests and maybe they're not even aware that they're giving you a test, but it's like,
mhm.
let's see who you really are before I get to a committed situation with you. And so if you have someone and you're in a dating situation or whatever and you're getting tested, guys, being present no matter what is going to make all the. If you're listening in and you want to work with Karma and get your message out, get a book out there, that's really going to help a lot of people and help in your business, help to share about what you're doing. That really is a big thing.
Absolutely.
Yes. And can you share about maybe, Karma, can you share about how some of the clients, what they've experienced after they've written a book and how that's helped with their businesses?
This is actually a new direction for me. So I
Okay.
don't have the client cases yet, but I've done it. I've done it
Okay.
several times. I have 5 books published, so I know I can help.
Yes. Oh, yes. And it's so much nicer to have somebody help you with the steps to
Mm,
getting published. It really does make a difference. When I started my book out, and I'm just giving my example, when I started out, I had the book cover in my mind and and got that designed, and I started sharing about it, and I had a rough outline. And I started writing it, but it wasn't quite finished. And I ran into a publisher and he loved the idea and the concept and wanted to work with me. And he's like, okay, well, you've got a book, but you've got a brand. And he took me through more steps than I ever could imagine. And I just needed to give him a rough manuscript to continue the process. And
wow.
and so that magically happened. I was actually volunteering for somebody else and ran into him. They were like, okay, we're going to sit in a circle and share about what we're doing. And
That's amazing.
yes. And so that even if you are going to go the non-traditional route and do a publisher, and I kind of did something in between with working with this person because it's more of a business brand program, but with them, but it really made a difference to have somebody that knows the steps. There's so many secrets and things. There's costs and mistakes
Yeah,
that you save. So if you find
yep,
somebody you can work with that's a reasonable price that can guide you through the steps, you're going to actually save time and money and mistakes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Like, because I've been publishing since the early 90s, and my first book is actually probably my most popular because it's about bundt cakes, but it's it's like an 8.5 by 11. You could tell I made it on Microsoft Word. It's like I didn't know what I was doing then, and I have learned with every book. So I've learned through the school of hard knocks, but I've also taken training from a lot of people. So what I bring to the table is everything I've learned from experience and from a virtual classroom.
Right.
And I'm taking the best of all those things so that whoever I work with has a better experience than I did.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal.
Yes, yes, that does make a big difference and very helpful. I can't wait to see now what is your next book going to be about?
Well, The one I'm launching in May is a second edition of an earlier book. I'm doing it for two reasons. It was about home pages, and things have changed, so it needed to be updated. But probably my most personal reason is that it had my ex-married name on it. I just didn't want it on Amazon anymore. Right. So I've got another book I'll need to do that too. So I just get rid of that former married name. And then I'm also working on the audiobook version of this book, which was my last book. Whoop, there we go.
Nice.
Public Speaking Superpowers. That was the one that's won 3 awards.
Wow.
So, and I was able to get it to be a Kindle bestseller. It was number 2 in its category, right behind a person who had their own TV show.
Wow.
So I probably couldn't have gotten to number 1 even if I had a lot more people buy. So I felt really good about that.
So that'll be on Audible.
That is my goal. I because of the way the book is, it's not a simple just read it and go. There's a lot of, footnotes, and so I have to create this PDF. Apparently, when you have an Audible book, you can give them also a PDF with all the links.
Right.
So I'm having to go through and create a script and create the PDF at the same time. And it's taking a little bit longer than I thought. I was hoping to launch it for audiobook month last June, but now I'm hoping for this June. We'll see what happens, because I have the other book launching in May, June. That might not work.
Yes, and it's really interesting. My audiobook is selling about 2 to 1, and it tends to be, it's really funny now. It's catching up and evening out, because people will buy the book or the audio book, and then they'll actually buy the physical book because it has a lot of activities and extras, but I also have all the links, and so people are able to get, there's lots of free gifts and activities and this and that they can get. And so that's something that is interesting. I had a blast doing the recording. I actually went to Studio City in California. For those who aren't familiar, it's like the place. Went to an award-winning recording studio, and they have this apartment above the studio, and they let me stay for a week, and I recorded 8 hours a day. And it was literally, there's so many, it's like they converted a house into the studio, and it's very common there that they do this in that area. And so everybody else that went in there's 2 different options. So most of the people paid other people to read their books.
A lot of people do, yeah.
Yes. And so I was the only one that was like, oh, wow, you're the author and you're reading your own book. That's different. It's rare, I guess, for them. But
it's wise. It's wise if it's a business book.
Yeah.
Because it lets people get to know you.
Exactly. And I have a show. I'm not shy, obviously. So for me, it was fine. And I wanted it to be in my voice. But I got to hang out with all these people that read all these books out loud every day. And in the evenings, we'd all go out and they'd show me the town, and we had a blast. And so it was kind of like it was work, but it was a mini vacation and a learning. So it's fun when you're writing and creating your first book. You're going to have so much fun in the process. It's almost like getting a PhD and writing a book. It's a whole journey. It's actually,
it definitely is.
It's fun. Don't make it stressed. I mean, I think this is the thing. I had people that were like, you need to do this in a month. And I was like, I don't want to do it in a month. I want it to be, and there are people that have written high quality work in a month, and that's incredible. But I needed to give it the time that I gave it. And I also, for me, this is something for the listeners. If you're writing a book or thinking about writing a book, then don't worry about these times that we're in. There's situations that might show up where you have to pause or put the book on hold for a minute. My book was going to come out in January, and my son passed away, as I mentioned earlier. So I put it on hold, and obviously just absolutely no way. I was like, sorry guys, it's not happening until I'm ready. And then it came out in August. It still hit the bestseller and all that, and it's not a problem. So just be patient with yourself and know that everything will show up in perfect time as long as you're taking steps in the right direction. Even if you have to put something else on hold, know that you will get there. Listen to your other story. Karma has this beautiful story about her relationship. She put her life on hold for a year in relationship department to heal and get aligned to her own values and goals. And then she found an incredible relationship. So it's the same principle for anything. Even if you have to this year take on a different job that's not your ideal career forever, that's okay, because it's not forever. Yeah. Yes.
Nothing's really forever.
Exactly. We're just
At least not in this world.
Yeah, do the best with what you have with each day, and that makes a huge difference. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up in our conversation, we discussed domestic abuse, and that's something I do have a chapter about getting free from abuse and getting out of abusive situations. Sometimes it's really difficult. Maybe you have children. You feel threatened. You felt threatened. You could have lost your life at some point. Maybe, I mean, you had a serious injury. And so there's something that I like to share a lot, and that's the resource that's called 211. Have you heard of that resource?
I have not.
Okay. So that's something I would say more than 60% of the people that I ask have never heard of 211. And that's important. So if you're listening, even if you never need a resource, this year a lot of people who have never needed a resource in their life may need a resource. So share this. 211. If you Google 211 and California or whatever state you're in or province in Canada, you will find a list of resources. That's resources like getting out of a domestic abuse situation, resources for places to go, shelters, resources for if you need food on the table. So food banks, resources for schools that are giving out school programs. Even though the schools are closed, they're giving lunch programs, resources for how to get jobs. There's all kinds of different things. There's mental health resources. Everything you could imagine that's available in your particular state is going to be listed just under 211. You can dial it, or you can Google that and your state or province, and you will get help that you need. And if you share that with someone, share love and kindness, give them what you can. And then if you give them the resource to get the help they need, they can get back on track. Your friends, loved ones, co-workers can get back on track even sooner.
Exactly.
Yes. So that'll make a big difference. And I think that's one of the things. What ideas, Karma, do you have? What kind of businesses could write a book? I think it would be just about anything.
Yeah, pretty much. One of the markets that I am looking forward to working with are family-owned businesses, because they have the dual story of creating the business and creating a family legacy. And I love helping people create legacies. So I think family-owned businesses should all have books, even if the only people who buy them are their loyal customers, because it creates a legacy for the business and the family. Yes. I think any small business owner can improve their business by some form of book, because there's just something about saying, I wrote a book, that just gives you authority in people's eyes. I mean, because most people think that writing a book is hard. And yes, there are aspects that are hard. It's simple. It's relatively easy. It's the mind stuff that makes it hard. Because the writing part isn't necessarily that bad. Even if you're not that good of a writer, you hire an editor, and that's what they do. It's like, so I think any small business owners, family business owners, and then there's this group of people called mid-level executives. They're not the head of the company, so it's not an obvious for them. But these people are the perfect people to write a book because it can take them in one of two directions, depending on what they want for their career. It can get them into the C-suite because now they've got this leverage that they can create an audience and they can create something that is of additional value to the company they work for. Or it can make them an entrepreneur, which maybe they've always wanted to do and they just never tried.
Yes.
So
that's
a book can take you anywhere.
Yes, I love that idea because there are a lot of people that have so much knowledge and maybe they're in a job at a company that they're kind of stuck, or perhaps the company has downsized or cut back so much, and here they have all these skills, and with a book you'd be able to share some of those skills, and then that would be able to get them the foot in the door to a new opportunity, or the leverage to be able to create the preeminence to be able to create their own companies, basically. So I love.
And then there's the hobbyists. I mean, if you are an avid underwater left-handed basket weaver, there are probably lots of other people who also want to do that, but you know how. Write a book.
Yes.
Be the go-to resource. I mean, there are amazing things out there that people will spend money on. I mean, rabbit ownership and hula hooping, and we all carry knowledge in us that somebody else would love to learn. And a book is probably the easiest way to get it out into the world. You can turn it into an online course. That's very popular right now, and that's a very good way to do it, but that takes some technology.
Yeah.
A book requires a word processing system, period. So I guess a computer to work you need a computer and a word processing system and access to the internet. And that's pretty much it. And you can write a book.
Yes, that's so true. And now I love to hear now how you're able to help people that are very busy to write a book. What examples can you give of how a very busy person would actually be able to fit a book into their life? How does that work? How can we do that?
Well, it depends on the person. I have this report I've written that I give clients because it costs money, but I give it to my clients as part of our package that helps them find the time they already have. And most of the advice you hear is wake up an hour early. Well, some of these people are already waking up and they wake up an hour earlier, they're going to be falling asleep all day. So that doesn't work for everyone. So, I mean, there are the standard wake up early, go to bed late, but there's also things like hire help. Rather than cleaning the house yourself, hire someone. Rather than doing the yard work, hire someone. If you work from home, maybe hire someone to take care of your kids for a couple of hours a day. Hire a babysitter. Or if you really want this book, you can give up something just temporarily. You always go and get your choca latte, whatever mocha latte thingy bobber, and that takes an hour. Well, give it up for a month, and now you've got an hour. So that's part of it, is finding the time to either find the time that's already there and you're just wasting, or finding the time that you can get other people to help you create. And the other part is getting into the flow, because when you're in the flow, you write faster and are more productive. I help them find ways to like one way is to have a dedicated space for their writing. So that every time they sit in that place, their body already says, okay, I'm in the writing place. And you get into that flow moment way faster. If you can't dedicate a desk, then dedicate a basket with all your stuff in it.
Yeah.
Do some form of ritual that, okay, when I do this ritual, I'm about to write. So it's sort of a two-pronged process to find the way that works with them and their personality and their situation and their lifestyle. There are ways to do it.
Yes. Now for me, and I'm giving you an example of my life, how the heck did I find time? Because I do have a big team working in Beverly Hills. I work with a bunch of agents. I teach online courses. I run events. I do a whole bunch of stuff. I have 6 kids, five, one passed away, but I have a big life, a bunch of things going on all the time. And I had to say no a lot. Like I said no to going out to parties, and like Beverly Hills is my main residence, and so it's networking parties. It's every day of the week you go out and you have business dinners and outings with friends, and this is very normal and it's
Yeah.
great. Now it's changed this year, but anyway.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about natural beauty. And I have found an incredible healing property in a diet I'm doing called nutritional fitness, which isn't related, but it is because I took out all the additives and chemicals out of my life in food and drinks and this and that. And so I realized, oh my gosh, I feel healthier. I'm losing weight. I'm getting into shape. I feel better. I have more energy. It is some wild stuff. And with that, I looked a little deeper into the products that I'm putting on my skin that actually that's your biggest um, organ in your body is your skin, and we absorb so much through our skin. So I found with lots of research and rememberings, I actually ran into an incredible program, and this is a product. It's called Beauty Counter, and I am in love with the makeup. So if you are watching the show on YouTube, on NBC's KCAA Tiki TV, or one of the other podcasting channels that does have video, or one of the many news stations that I'm on now, you will see that I am wearing some pretty cool makeup. And although my makeup looks really nice, I love the fact that it is now all clean makeup. So, Beauty Counter is a makeup company committed to formulating clean beauty products that protect both people and the planet. As leaders in clean, BC Beauty Counter is doing their part to advocate for human rights and climate justice while minimizing the environmental impacts of our products, packaging, and footprints. Now, I loved it so much, I did become a representative, full disclosure. So, I do have a Beauty Counter site, website. You can find it at my website, sheilamac.com. And if you look at the top menu, there is something that says Natural Beauty, and that will link you directly to my site for clean makeup. All right, and now back to the show. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have some news for you. Yes, you. I'm celebrating my 3rd year now on the station and will be expanding the show to a global network as well. You may now find the Sheila Mack Show on all major podcasting channels, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, all the episodes are now available for viewing there as well. And I'm asking you for a quick favor. If you like the show, please help support the spread of this reboot channel on YouTube as well. My goal is to help as many people as possible through our interesting times to rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life. I also wanted to share a little bit more about how I got here, what I do now, and how designing a business career and life on your terms is more than possible at any age or stage in life. I am an enterprisingly forward-thinking consultant, show host, and best-selling author. But how did I get here? Well, I began my career as an entrepreneur and property investment strategist back when I was 23 years young, when I boldly quit my government job with NASA JPL to open my first of 5 large gift stores while also starting to invest in property. I got to work with some of the world's most loved companies, such as negotiations on leases with Warner Brothers and winning trips to London as the top-selling Crabtree and Evelyn provider in the U.S. for multiple years. My stores were built on heart as I gave back to the community I came from. So now, some of you know this and some of you don't know this, but as a young girl with parents who were not well enough to care for me, I was homeless at age 10, then in foster care, where it was really hard to get a job while in the system. I finally emancipated at the age of 15 to start college early. While running my stores, I worked with a government program. Back then, it was called Job Training Partnership Act, making my stores an open source training site where close to 200 at-risk youth started their careers. Yes, I began my career helping business leaders and working professionals to design a life they love where they can have success in their careers and get to the business of life. See, a funny thing happened along the way. When I first opened my gift store, it was kind of crazy because I was this young upstart. That's what a lot of the store owners called me. My first store was in Montrose, California, in this sweet little hometown shopping park with other stores and restaurants nearby. And so I was the young upstart that didn't know what she was doing. At least that's what everybody said. And I didn't really care what they said. At that age, their opinion was like, I don't really care. So that was probably a really good thing because I stayed focused on what I needed to do. And I had negotiated to lease out a 5,000 square foot gift store that needed a lot of work, and I got free rent and for about 6 months, and I had to start making the rent, which was $5,000 a month, which was a lot of money back then, $1 a square foot. And so I had to learn and relearn. I finally did hire quite soon in the game. I did hire a marketing expert, branding expert, I guess back then. And that lady really helped me to figure things out when I first started. And when you first start a business, especially when you're young, it was like I had no idea what to do. But I needed to learn because my rent was going to start coming due every month. And over that time, I started having more success. I did crazy things like stayed open until almost midnight every night, along with the restaurants who were very close to my store, while everybody else closed shop at about 5 or 6 p.m. So I was making more money from the start, and I just really, my store was to help my kids, and the products I sold was whatever the community wanted. I sold lots of things to people in the entertainment industry. I worked with cruise ships. I worked with many different people in the community. And later on, the store owners actually came to me and asked me if I would consult them and help them. I actually started buying my other buildings because I didn't like the idea of paying rent for years and years and years and not building equity. So I did get my real estate license through that and invested and bought my other 4 store buildings. And lots of the other store owners worked with me, paid me to consult and help them do what I was doing. And I didn't really even know it was called consulting. I just knew how to figure it out, I guess. And so that's how I started my career. And now, I raised 6 children, all that, and now they're grown. And so I get to come to work every day and do what I naturally do best as an enterprising and forward-thinking business leader. Through my show, courses, and live events, I guide entrepreneurs and working professionals like you through the profitable steps of building a business, creation to expansion, marketing from planning to implementation, wealth preservation through strategic planning and, yes, real estate investing, and lifestyle design so that you can earn more while getting back to the business of living your best life. So I do invite you to tune in here to KCAA Radio, and also I would really appreciate it if you went to my YouTube channel, Sheila Mack Show, and gave a subscribe and a listen to some of your favorite shows. And I do have some other exciting things, including a free gift to thank you. So if you go to www.sheilamac.com, that's SHEILAMAC, SheilaMac.com, there you can get a free gift to get started on your reboot this year. And now back to the show. Ask the universe to send all you have always wanted. That's right. So I have found my favorite pens on the planet, something I have been looking for my entire life. And here they are. I actually do share a link if you'd like them. But the first thing I did was I got out my journal, my full focused journal, and I started writing. This is the pen I have always wanted. And then I continued to write. Dear universe, what else is available for me that I have always wanted? Please send the friends, the clients, the parties, the fun, the excitement all over, because I know it's already there. Remember, the universe conspires for your highest and best good. And that is the secret to manifest. If you are just tuning in, this is the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and action steps to help you rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and we are here today on NBC's KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. Today we were discussing the beauty and fun of travel as a career, travel as something that you may want to do in your life. I personally traveled for 7 years straight. I enjoyed learning from some of the finest people on the planet, incredible mentors such as Tony Robbins, Dr. Wayne Dyer when he was with us. I had a blast with the travels, and as a parent of 6 children, I still had my youngest 2 children at home with me, and we actually did what a lot of people are doing this year, and the kids did independent study and traveled with me for 2 years straight, and I'm telling you, they learned so much from the experience of traveling. And like I said, me traveling full time as they all started going to college, I just kept on traveling and then visiting all my kids in the dorms. And so with that, there's always a time in life. And right now, I'm sure people feel like a little concerned. Maybe, is the world ever going to open up again? Will we get to travel again? And yes, there are actually many opportunities to already start traveling. And if you feel like it's not exactly the time, it will be at some point. I really have faith in that, in our science, and just in the fact that things do come and go, and we keep moving on as a human race and humanity. We always find ways to make things available to us, especially beautiful things like traveling and getting to know people from around the world connects us even more. And so right now we may have to be traveling more through our computers with online listening and online courses. I know I offer 14 different online courses that I teach every week. And so I get to travel all over the place from my little recording studio, and I really enjoy that because now I have clients and students in my courses that are from other sides of the planet that maybe would have never joined had it not been for the pandemic worldwide pause. And so I know that we already have open invitations for when they start traveling again, that I am going to visit them in their countries, and they are also going to come visit me, and we're going to give each other the tours from somebody who lives in the city, and that's going to be a blast. So one of the things that's really important is with travel, and maybe you don't love travel, but there's something about just getting away and giving yourself time, taking those breaks, taking the learning experiences. And it's to me, it goes back to self-care and spirituality, whatever that may be for you, and how to have those times even this year when we may be staying home a little bit more than usual and not traveling as much. How can we make sure to give ourselves the vacation time and even the small trips? Sometimes I know lots of people, they live in a state or a country and they haven't even seen their own beautiful sites, their own botanical gardens or historic places to visit, mountains to climb in the area, what have you. So it may be that you're going to be traveling and having your own adventure as a family or even as a work group, as something fun to do, where maybe you go have a work meeting at one of the botanical gardens or some other place in the area that is permitted, and that you can get out of the office or out of homes and into nature. So that is another idea. Right now, I wanted to share a little bit from my chapter in my book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And I wanted to share a little bit from the chapter I have on self-care and spirituality. All right, everyone, take a listen. Chapter 10, Self-Care and Spirituality. Lisa's husband passed away. As a couple, they had recently agreed that they were going to sell their house and move to a retirement community, and now she had to do that alone. Between the loss of her husband and the home her son had grown up in, Lisa was hit with a double whammy of grief. As anyone who has lost someone knows, grief causes stress levels to rise exponentially. On top of that, selling a house and moving, even when it's a planned, happier move, is also stressful and can be unsettling. You lose things, objects get broken, and you have to readjust to a new place. Lisa wasn't just moving away from the house where she'd raised her son. She was also leaving the neighborhood she'd lived in for 45 years. Where her friends lived, and where she volunteered in the community. She felt she was losing everything in her life at once. Lisa and I started talking because she needed some support through all these decisions and upheaval. She was even overwhelmed with things she was usually quite good at, her paperwork and taxes, because of all the changes she was going through at once. As we talked, she told me how she took care of her husband, her son, and her community, but she had never taken time for herself, and now she was faced with too much time. I gave her the challenge of doing one thing for herself every day, as if she was doing it for her husband or close friend. If someone showed up on her doorstep in pain, stressed out, or going through something, Lisa would drop everything to help that person now, though that person would be her. She was going to give herself as much attention, honor, and love as she gave to so many other people. And I asked her to send me pictures of her doing these things so she would be held accountable. At first, she was like, "Are you crazy?" I promised her it would help, even though she thought it would be dumb. For me, I told her, do it for me if you're not going to do it for yourself. The first day, Lisa sent me a picture of herself getting her nails done with the text, "I haven't had my nails done in months, not since before Dave got sick. It felt so good, and you were right. I kind of needed that break." "Great," I replied. "What are you doing tomorrow?" From survival mode to self-care. When we hit rock bottom situations in life, it tends to send us into survival mode. And when we're in that place, we're so busy making ends meet, struggling with grief, loss, and pain, and dealing with whatever is going on that we don't have a choice but to eliminate some of the things we usually do. When we have to go to work, then go visit somebody in the hospital, then pick up your kids, and you still have to make dinner and maintain a certain level of cleanliness in your home, or whatever duties you have to do, taking an hour for yourself to go to the gym or meditate gets pushed aside. It's just today, you tell yourself. But then tomorrow comes and goes, and another day and another. The next thing you know, it's been a month or two, and then you really start to notice the difference. One day, you wake up and you're not who you used to be. When you aren't practicing self-care, it shows up all over. Maybe you're exhausted and not sleeping right. Maybe you're off your healthy diet. Perhaps you've pushed your meditation practice and it's showing up at work or with relationships. You start snapping at people you would never snap at when you're already at rock bottom with one situation, and then you realize how many of your healthy habits went in the fallout. It can be overwhelming. You've hit another rock bottom, and you may be looking around and thinking, how do I get from here back to where I was? You start over, one step at a time. Starting over sounds scary, but there is good news. Your muscles have memory. Your body remembers healthy eating, and you can catch up on your sleep, but it's not going to happen in one day. It took you more than one day to reach this rock bottom place. One day of not cleaning up doesn't bring a mess into your life. One day of extra spending doesn't necessarily lead to a negative cash flow situation, so it's going to take a few days or even weeks to get back to where you were. The fastest way to start climbing up from rock bottom is to take small steps and focus on little wins. You are tuning in to the Sheila Mack Show, where we answer real questions with real solutions to help you reboot your business and personal life. Now, I have reminded you about my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And the core of that book is lifestyle design. So it's going through chapters of different things that happen in everybody's life to one extent or another. We talk about starting over, rebooting, get on back on track after losing a loved one, a divorce, our kids grow up, we are parenting our parents, and more. Relationships, ups and downs, renegotiating relationships, business, career. And it all, every time you have a life shift, you have the opportunity to redesign your life. And so the main focus is every chapter will help you reboot through where you are. You go to the chapter that speaks to you during this time in your life, and then you go to the main focus of the book, which is lifestyle design and getting back on track. But this time, the difference is you get to live life on your terms. All right, so to learn more, go to SheilaMack.com. My name is spelt SHEILAMAC.com. And there I also have a free gift for you. Looking forward to seeing you there. And as always, I wish you life, love, laughter, and light.